So, you may or may not have heard recently, but Affinity have released their first paid update with version 2.0, and looking over everything, it is a pretty big one. So today let's go through some of the noteworthy things and talk about whether it's worth you upgrading, because yes, the answer is yes, you should upgrade, but here's why. So like I said, Affinity have released version 2.0 and it is their first paid update. So let's go through some of the things that are worth knowing. So just on the Affinity website itself, you got loads of information. So if we go down this, you can see that what they've done, and one of the big things that they've done is introduced a universal license. So for one payment, you have all 3 software, but not only is it on the operating system that you're using on, for example, Windows or Mac, but you can see here that you get the entire Affinity suite, including Publisher for iPad, more on that in a second, for all your devices. So for that one payment, you're not only getting it for Mac, but you're getting it for Windows and iPad, meaning that it is literally a one-off purchase. Very worth it, especially with the discount they've got going on right now. So if you're wondering whether you want to buy it or not, I'd hop on this pretty quick. But more importantly, it's what's actually new in the software. And there's some things in this that I'm super excited about and I can't wait to make videos on these. So as I've said, they've redesigned the UI, which actually looks pretty cool. Some of the things are in slightly different places. Like for example, when you're opening a new document, that's slightly different. And also when you want to open some of your panels, like your color panel or your history panel, or even like assets, things like that, they all are in slightly different places, which I think actually makes sense of where they've put it. They've redesigned the UI, they've also improved performance as well, so it should run a lot smoother and just in general be a lot better. But yeah, Publisher is coming to iPad. So beforehand we had Designer for iPad, we had Photo for iPad, and people really wanted Publisher. Now Publisher is on iPad. That's a huge thing because it means literally you can work wherever and whenever you want. Which, yeah, it's going to be a whole different ball game for designers and anyone who uses this suite. I think this actually might bring a lot of people over to this suite purely because the Adobe side of things isn't as robust on iPad as the Affinity suite is. And now that Publisher is on here, that really opens up a huge amount of possibilities. It really makes me want to get an iPad. All right, Affinity Designer 2, wait for it. We now have a vector warp. So back when we were talking about different ways that you could warp text and how it was destructive and you'd have to go back and re-edit it, and don't worry about it no more. It's non-destructive vector warp, meaning that we can warp this text into whatever these shapes are, distort it in how we want, and then re-edit that text. So back in one of my old videos, we were talking about how you can make like an arc-shaped text, and we had to go through all these little different avenues and different ways to do it. Whereas now, it's going to be a huge amount easier. And not only that, but once you've made it, you then can re-edit the words and do what you want with it. Huge. Super excited about that. But the next one, oh, when I saw this, oh, the shape builder tool is here. It's finally here. So anyone who's used Illustrator before will know the shape builder tool. It's used for combining shapes easily with this little, so that would be your cursor. You literally would draw, I want to combine this shape, this shape, this shape, and that one. And then when you let go of your mouse, it would just combine them. And it was one of the best things about Illustrator. And everyone has been saying that they want that in Affinity Designer, and here it is. So this is a big thing, this is a big game changer. And it was actually one of the things that I mentioned in one of my old videos of what is missing from Affinity Designer. That is one of them. Now we have it. Can't wait to play with it. Okay, next up we got the knife tool as well. Really useful to cut things. So apparently you can slice any shape, curve, or text into component parts, and apparently it's really easy. Now I haven't actually messed around with it. I've got it up. As soon as I finish recording this video and editing it and putting it up, because I need to get this out fast, I'm going to mess about with this stuff and I can't wait. Yeah, we've also got a measure tool, which personally I don't think I'm going to use, but if anyone out there wants to measure things in real scale, then yeah, useful. I think they are also kind of pushing towards, which I'll show you down here as well, kind of architectural floor plan sort of design as well, because they're now adding this import ability as well. So that really opens up from their business side of things in a really good way. Now with Photo, Affinity Photo. Now we don't usually do a lot about Affinity Photo on this, but we are gonna be at some point soon. Previously, when you had raw files, you would develop them. And then once you develop them, you were kind of stuck with all the edits that you made. However, now we can non-destructively raw develop. So you can actually go back and change the development that you made. That was probably the weakest part of Photo, is that you had to be locked in as soon as you do that. We've also got these hue range masks as well. So rather than having to draw out a mask, you can actually pick a specific color and mask that color itself and make adjustments to that color. So it will make things like, for example, this car, if we knew we only wanted to change the color of that car, instead of having to mask all the way around it and select it, we could literally just say red, go, mask it, done. Another cool thing as well is compound masks. So whereas masks before used to be separate masks for each individual thing, what you can actually do now is we can now add, intersect, subtract and XOR our masks, which means we could mask around this guy and then be done, and then mask around this guy, and you can see in the layer panel here, we can actually add them together to be able to make a compound mask. But not only that, again, it's non-destructive. So we could go out and remake it, we could change it, we can do a lot of things. Non-destructive is a huge thing, and so far most of the things that we're doing here are non-destructive. And another great thing as well is that their brush engine's been improved. So I know a lot of people in the past, especially on iPad but also on desktops, when using a brush it wasn't always as smooth or as clean as it should be, and I think with them improving that, I think it's going to be a big difference, and I think I'm going to have to try it out for sure just to see how it feels. Then we've also got some of these little changes as well. So like I said, the new document pop-out window is also slightly different. So no longer have we got that pop-out thing that says new document at the bottom, which I put in one of my mistakes videos saying you're doing it wrong. Now we actually get the new document pop-up, which literally you can just click new, get your document and just get ready to go. Also, I like this. So your recent documents are now in little thumbnails. You can actually see what you created and click on what you want to open. And you can also pin your documents as well, which I also think will be super handy as well. Now with them overhauling the whole UI, they've actually improved the layer panel as well. And again, we've got a whole bunch of different things that they've done to make the layer panel easier to use. And one of these is they've made clearer drop zones for dropping things inside, masking and reordering. And I think a lot of people used to make that mistake of when they were dragging and dropping of where to actually put the thing and looking at that tiny blue line. So I think if they've made that easier and made it a bit more obvious, then I think that's going to be a great benefit to a lot of people. And we now have a color square. So yeah, not just a triangle, we now have a square. And I'm not sure, but I might start using it, because the big thing with it, it makes it easier for you to change saturation without changing luminosity and vice versa by moving vertically and horizontally. So rather than it being in a triangle and having less space, a square will give you a bit more leeway. I feel like it's kind of a halfway house between using the sliders and the wheel. But the iPad version itself has had updates as well. So you got yourself a quick menu, a command controller. They've really thought this through. You've got a compact mode in the layers panel just to give you more canvas space. And literally, that's not all. Remember how I said that there was a trick to apply two effects, for example, like outline, to the same layer? And what you had to do is make it into a group and put that extra effect on the group. And then if you wanted another one, make another group and just keep doing that. Now we can actually make multiple layer effects. You can actually add outlines upon outlines and shadows upon shadows. And this as well, this I think is going to be huge. So assets and brushes within the three different software beforehand didn't talk to each other. So if you wanted to add a brush or you created a brush in Affinity Photo, you wouldn't have that available in Affinity Designer unless you exported it, imported it and all that sort of stuff. But now what you can actually do, you can actually link things across the apps. For example, you can link assets, brushes, swatches, and styles. And I did just test this out just before, just because I was really looking forward to this. And it works really easily. So if you create an asset, if that category in Affinity Designer is linked, which is not too hard to do, then when you open Photo, that linked asset panel will be in Photo as well, and also Publisher. So it's now going to be easier to move things around. So having your whole asset panel available for you in Photo and in Publisher, yeah, it's can't wait to keep using that. I mean, that's basically all the main features. There are other ones in there as well, which I'm not going to make this video super long and go through every little detail. I wanted to go through the main chunk of stuff, but if you head over to their website, you'll be able to see all of the new updates to see for yourself and to see what exactly you're excited about. But the real question is it worth upgrading? Now I said at the start, yes, and I stand by that, because for what you're getting from this app, or actually from these three apps, if you buy the universal license, is a huge difference from what we had before. You know, not only the performance updates, but also the fact that we can link assets across the apps as well. You've got the shape builder tool, you've got the vector warp, all those things. I think it's well worth the price that it's at. But really, as always, it depends what you use and what you need it for. So if you look at all these things and you think, actually, you know what, I'm never going to use any of these things, I'm never going to find it any easier, or it's not really going to change my workflow for what I use the Affinity software for, then yeah, maybe you don't need to upgrade. But then just be aware that there aren't going to be any updates for the old software at all. So at some point you may need to, but this update is not compulsory. Yes, it's their first paid update, which I think actually is worth it, but it's not being forced upon you, which I think is also a great idea. But alternatively, you don't even have to buy a universal license. So right now, with it being 40% off, it works out to £90 UK money, limited time offer, so make sure you jump on it quick. But you can still buy them separately as well, which again, they're on offer right now. So if you only use Designer and you've always used Designer, maybe just settle for paying the £36 for Designer. Or again, if you only use Photo, maybe just get that one. But if you are looking at actually getting all of them, plus for the fact that you will also get the iPad version as well, hit that 30-day free trial, because you might actually really like it. Yeah, for that 40% discount. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I folded and bought them all. I'm telling myself it's because I make videos like this and not because I just really wanted them. Hey. But hopefully that covers a lot of what you may want to know about Affinity 2.0. If I missed anything major, make sure you drop it in the comments below, and also drop in the comments whether you're going to upgrade yourself or whether you're going to stick with the old software. It'd be interesting to find out. I'm definitely going to play around with these software and find some really cool things to show you guys. So if you're not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like while you're down there. And as always, I've been Brown Bear. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.